Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a gameplay overview for Necromunda Underhive Wars. Here we are starting off in the deployment phase, where I will make sense of everything. As we can see here, objectives are being placed on the map. Resources at the moment. You can clearly see the various levels, and if I click in a moment after it's cycled through, we can cast our eyes on the various portions of this map to get a good lay of the land. Now, we're entering fighter deployment, so let's see what we got. The enemy, being a higher average initiative, has been able to deploy a fighter ahead of me. I can mouse wheel at this point up and down to select which of my 3 fighters I want to deploy, and these small zones here are the deployment zones. You can take your time and have a good look around. You can see barricades, you can see barrels of weak grog, which represent the resources on this map, which I would very much like to get. Now at this point we have the choice of one deployment zone initially, so we can choose somewhere. Let's say we want to go here. We can place one fighter. I can mouse wheel to choose exactly who I'm going to place my leader. The order in which you deploy is not the order in which you will take your turn. Do not worry. Now, you will take it in turns with the opposing team to deploy fighters, and you can have up to 2 deployment zones in use. So I can place another fighter over here. Now I've locked in my 2 deployment zones. You do not have to use 2, but you can. And it's worth noting at this point that you want to keep an eye for a few key things on the map, namely objectives, or resources as I should call them, and also exits, because if you get heavily wounded and you don't want a fighter to, well, snuff it, exits are to be found on your left and over here. On this map in particular, some maps have exits high up, some have them low down. This map in particular, it's going to be very easy for any of these fighters to jump down there, run away. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to deploy our last fighter. There we go, that's the end of the deployment phase for me, so we'll let the enemy deploy their other 2 fighters. 5v3, this looks like a good start, and let's show some actual gameplay. Now you'll see my fighters highlighted in white at the moment. This means that they cannot be targeted by an enemy until they have been activated. At this point in the game, I can mouse wheel through my various players and I can choose who to have a turn with. Now I can even choose to skip a turn, and you might be wondering, why would you want to do that? Well, none of my players can be attacked currently, so I'm going to choose to skip. We're going to watch what the enemy does, and then once he's activated, I will be able to shoot him. So my plan is to simply wait and watch for a little bit. We see he's a heavy drug user, and he's also done something else which I missed. And here we have a destroyable bridge. He's gone on to Overwatch, and I believe he has a pistol. So if I have anyone with a rifle, I'll be able to outrange him. Marvellous. So it's my turn now to activate again. Now if I have higher initiative than the one he chooses, I will go first. I have someone with a rifle here who might be able to out-exchange the other person, so we're going to activate here. Now, before I do anything, let's talk through how this works. Bottom left corner of the screen, you can see AP and MP, action points and movement points. The green bar is obviously your health, and movement points are nice and simple. The further you move from this little yellow marker here, the more movement points you spend. You can come back and reclaim them. However, if I were to move to here, and someone were to shoot me, there would effectively be a quick save here. That's what I'll call it, at least. That's not the official term, but the new starting point would be here, so I could no longer move back and reclaim my points. So you can do a little bit of investigating, a little bit of snoopity snoop, a little bit of snoopity snoop, and I've not used any movement points yet. So movement points are generally used as you might think for movement. Almost anything else is going to involve action points. So I'm going to see how far over I can get to an enemy over here, and we can start to talk about what we can do with action points. So as we approach, I believe we might be in range. If you're not sure if you're in range or not, you can press 1 and hover over here. What I quite like to do, now 1 takes you to your offensive abilities. I like to bring up the Overwatch as you're getting close, because you can actually see if they're inside the barrier there, you're in range. Now I walked too far forward. Fortunately, I consumed the Overwatch by being just out of line of sight, which I think made my evasion a lot higher. So you can see the hit percentage there, 79. If I go, well, I can't go any closer, so I'm stuck here. So I can mouse wheel between shoot, aim shot, and again, I could go on Overwatch. Overwatch is going to cost me 25 AP. What you'll notice is that I don't have enough to shoot and do an Overwatch. So I'm going to have to make a choice here. I'm just going to go for an aimed shot instead, because that seems like the most sensible thing to do. Now, an aimed shot will allow me to target each individual body parts, and we can see the armor value here. Head is a little bit harder to hit at 73%. The left arm has no armor too, so I'm going to go for the left arm. And that's a plasma gun. That's right, I have a plasma gun. Whew. Oh boy. Right, and what we're going to do here, we have some action points left, and I don't really want to get beaten up too much, so we're going to show off the jump mechanic, which is also an action point consuming ability. Now, if there were multiple levels you could jump to, you'd use Q and E to cycle between. So if you're not seeing the target you want, press Q and E and you'll cycle between them. Don't worry about fall damage, you will always use a line to make it down, and we can jump twice down here. So what that will do is at least break line of sight to the enemies, and if they want to chase me, they can come down. This is not necessarily how I would advise playing. You'll notice here I have no movement left. You can bring up your inventory as well, and with some action points, if I had some left, we could change some equipment. But let's show that off with another character. For now, we're going to observe what the enemy's going to do, and we're going to see if we can, well, maybe take someone down. Highly improbable. Heavy weapons user coming from the enemy. A bunch of abilities will be with each character when you start off, so you have quite a bit of choice, in fact. Things like Entrenched, everyone has access to, and I'll show you what that does in just a moment. Everyone can also kneel. Actions like this get cheaper as you level up and as you purchase perks, which will reduce the cost fairly significantly. I'm going to go for my heavy weapon user myself, and we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Okay, so I've skipped the enemy turn just to make this a little bit more compressed. We have a few choices with this character. Offensive, we have Overwatch and Heavy Barrage. If you're not sure what that does, press the R button, and that will bring up exactly what it does. It's pretty cool. We'll toggle the R away for now, because there's other things I want to show off. We have Tactical, we can kneel down. This gets cheaper the higher the level you are. We can also go Entrenched. Every character can do this, although once you do it once, you will become exhausted and you cannot do it on the following round. Now, this allows you to restore 20 action points in exchange for 40 movement points. So if you don't move too far, you can effectively have 70 action points. There are plenty of other ways to get more action points. This can be done by consumables, it can be done by buffs. So if we go to here, let's see what our range is right now. Out of range. If I'm not quite sure, okay, it's 51 meters over there, so it's only a meter out of range. That's fine. I can go to here, and I should be able to shoot him. Hit 91%. There we go. You don't have to be aiming right at him. You can be pretty close. Now, we could do a Heavy Barrage, but cannot do that. We can go into Overwatch, but again, an aim shot's going to make the most sense. So we'll do an aim shot here. We'll see what we'll go for. Its arm is probably the safer. Let's just go for a headshot. A respectable hit. Now, because I moved forward, I've only got 35 movement points left. Is there anything I can do with that? I can kneel. That's probably the most effective thing for me to do right now. So we'll kneel down, reducing his ability to shoot me. It gives you automatic sort of ranged evasion, lowering the chance of enemies hitting you. And now we have our glorious leader. Now, this is the last one I'm going to highlight to you during this small tutorial of what can be done. Of course, there are plenty of options within combat. You can go into ambush stances, you can go into your tactical menu and open up your backpack to exchange the weapons you have. You can choose to put weapons away or even drop them by pressing the E, F and Q depending on what you would like to do. So we've just placed a weapon away. You can open up your inventory directly, which I just did, and you can of course choose to end your turn prematurely if you wish. But for this character, what we'll do is press the control key because I've lost where my other guy is. I thought I left him on this bridge, but he seems to have disappeared. No, I didn't. He's the other side of the map, because I had lost my orientation. So I'm going to move over toward him and try and show off something pretty cool. You can see on the floor here, a marker per meter. As you move further away, these become more visible. Initially, they're not too pronounced, but toward the ends, they become pretty darn obvious. So we've made it all the way over here, and now we're going to see what tactical choices we have. Now, I have build a barricade. My guy is an engineer, so we can do that, and we can do... Right, there we go. There's a nice barricade for us. Perfect. We now have something we can use as cover. Tactical, we can also... Ooh, we can build lots of barricades, apparently. We can build a road flare. This reduces the enemy chance of hitting players nearby by a fairly significant amount, which is pretty cool. I have a health dispenser I can build as well. I have lots of choices, which is really cool. Offensive, I have more. Such as ambush and melee, but obviously no one's around to melee at the moment. But that's a brief example of what can be done within melee. I would suggest trying to break line of sight where you can. Enemy overwatches is something to be a little bit careful of, because you will lose 10 movement points when you get hit, but that is pretty much the fundamentals of how to play. Keep an eye on the objectives and the victory conditions, and you'll notice at the top of the screen you can see the round and the floor that you are currently on. This is useful when it comes to activating elevators, which will simply be used by the F or E key when you get close to them, and you can of course sabotage them using different characters. We can see a zip line over here, and I think what we'll do is go ahead and use it just to demonstrate some of the map mobility. So I've gone ahead right here and skipped to the next round, because what I want to do is show and demonstrate some of the other things that players and characters can do. We go up to our ally over here. Now I'm in a closer proximity. I can do things like field repair on him, which effectively reload his weapon for him if he had a weapon jam, or if he'd lost his weapon reliability and he was very prone to a jam. Well, we could go ahead and repair him with another character. Again, we've still got our building options here, and we can go right the way up to him, and we can even trade or commit to various interactions with him. So we could go ahead and trade, give him some items right here, give him a med kit, for example, if we wish. But for now, this is a perfect opportunity to demonstrate two things you can do here. A, you can go down a zip line. If this had been destroyed, we could repair it, as we are effectively an engineer. The saboteur, however, by clicking on the interactions here, will get the option to actually destroy it or sabotage it. So saboteurs, pretty damn cool in my books. Engineers, also pretty darn cool, because everywhere I go I can choose to do this, and I just think it's awesome, even though they can be destroyed by heavy weapons incredibly easily. So guys, this is a little bit of a showcase of the gameplay and the available options. Hopefully you guys understand the UI right now. A few other key things I would stress: control, hold control to see what's going on around you. Other things I would also suggest doing is pressing shift, just like so, to toggle the information panel for each character. So what you can do here is view all of the buffs and debuffs, because they won't necessarily always make sense. So shift is going to be your friend. Keep an eye on that. Caps lock doesn't do anything. Gotcha. Guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully it's been informative. Keep your eyes out for more videos. This has just been a basic overview, but hopefully enough to get you guys running. Take care and have a great day. See you next time.